A warm welcome to the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra. Can we give him another big warm welcome, please? And the Minister for Communications, Information, and the Minister in charge of Trade Relations, Minister S. Ishwaran. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. We'll begin with a special performance, Anushasanam, the cosmic flow of yoga, a dance and yoga performance created specifically for this event, depicting the benefits of the practice of yoga and awakening the energies that lie in the 7 chakras of the human body. Do enjoy the performance.
मूला Mooladhara.
अथ
Janata. Amazing. May we take the opportunity to please invite our artists to remain on stage in lieu for group photo opportunity. May we at this juncture please invite the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra, Minister S. Ishwar, and the High Commissioner of India, Mr. Javed Ashram, to please join the artists on stage for a group photo opportunity. Prime Minister, Ministers, please. A wonderful performance once again brought to you by the Thank you very much to our very talented artists. Give them another big round of applause, please. What a great performance once again is. You can hear from the background, they're still very excited. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we'll now conduct a series of launches and announcements on business, innovation, and skills. We'll begin with 3 announcements in the area of fintech and also demonstrate the innovative spirit of India-Singapore collaboration. May we please, at this juncture, please invite on stage once again the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, Minister S. Ishwar, High Commissioner of India, Mr. Jalabi Ashram, to please join us on stage, along with Chief FinTech Officer from the Monetary Authority of Singapore. Please welcome Mr. Supindu Mohanty for the first series of the launch. May we, at this juncture, please invite Jeffrey Goh, the CEO of NETS, to please join us on stage. Join me in giving Mr. Jeffrey Goh a big warm welcome, please. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jeffrey Goh of NETS will now hand over the iPad to Prime Minister. Prime Minister will launch the app on our count of 3. Prime Minister, if you're ready, sir. 1, 2, 3.
And him. I am they. And them. I am the sparkle in their eyes. The twinkle in their toes. The skip in their beat. The wings beneath their feet. I am their hopes and their desires. Their courage and their strength. I've listened to their thoughts and heard their souls. I've journeyed and come a long way, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. I am their story, born of this world, an expression of a new one. I am all of them. And all of their dreams, today and tomorrow. Rupee, made of 1 billion dreams.
We're proud to officially launch India's Rupee card. Ladies and gentlemen, our next launch will be the agreement between NPCI and NETS to make arrangements for acceptance of BEAM QR payment app in Singapore. May we please invite Prime Minister to please launch the app on our count of 3, please. 1, 2, 3.
Gone are the days when you have to wait for long queues or writing multiple forms for sending money or requesting money across the globe. Make your life simple and easy by using the BEAM app. Follow easy steps in BEAM app to send and receive money from anywhere at any time. Open your BEAM app on mobile and enter the app login passcode. Click on Scan and Pay option to pay through NETS. The application will open a QR scanner. Scan the QR, enter the amount and remarks, and press Pay. Enter the UPI PIN to complete the transaction, and it's done. Make your life simple and easy with BEAM app, and recommend your family and friends to make all transactions cashless. BEAM in Singapore, in association with us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jeffrey Goh. Mr. Jeffrey Goh, please be seated. One more launch to be conducted, and ladies and gentlemen, we are happy to announce the first international remittance app based on India's Unified Payment Interface, or UPI, by State Bank of India, Singapore. If you please invite Mr. Soma Prasad, country head of SBI Singapore, to please present the iPad to Honorable Prime Minister for the launch. Let's give Mr. Soma Prasad a big welcome, please. Prime Minister, count of three, please. 1, 2, 3.
என்னாச்சுமா? என்னாச்சுமா? 1 லட்சம் ரூபாயா? சரி சரி நான் அனுப்பிச்சு வைக்கிறேன்.
India's digital payment platform, United Payment Interface, goes international with SBI and NPCI joining hands. The first international rupee remittance app through UPI launched in Singapore by State Bank of India. Remittance of up to rupees 100,000 made quick, easy and convenient with SBI via UPI. Another milestone for digital India. The global launch of this service in Singapore by the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi.
Congratulations, SBI Singapore. Thank you very much, Mr. Soma Prasad. And maybe thank our chief guest. Let's give him a big round of applause, please. Can you please invite Prime Minister and Mr. Ishwaran, High Commissioner, and our distinguished guests to kindly take your seats. Join me in giving them another big round of applause, please. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, happening tomorrow, the two governments will conclude a memorandum of understanding to set up a joint working group on fintech, which will also be a platform to take India's digital revolution, governance, and InduStack internationally. We'll now screen a video of the launch of the new India Innovation Hub. Ladies and gentlemen, we should now display the various memorandum of understanding and initiative concluded today, beginning with NITIO and IIM Alumni Association, IIT Alumni Association of Singapore, the Indus Entrepreneurs Data Security Council of India, the Indian School of Business Alumni Association Singapore, on supporting India's innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem and promoting India innovation abroad. Understanding between Tata Education, Development Trust, ITE Education Services Singapore to set up Indian Institutes of Skill. Between National Skill Development Center, National University of Singapore on future skills. Between National Skill Development Corporation, Singapore Polytechnic, Temasek Foundation International on establishing trainer and assessor academias in India. Between NSDC and Enterprise Singapore Board, to support investments by Singapore skills training providers in India. Between SynchroServe Global Solutions, Skills SG Ventures, facilitated by NSDC and ES, for providing skill training services across India. Between Confederation of Indian Industry and Singapore Cooperation Enterprise for Waterways Management and Recycling. Between Confederation of India and Singapore Business Federation on creating family business networks and training family businesses. Between the Confederation of India Industry and Singapore Business Federation on business exposure in India and Singapore. Between Confederation of India Industry, Singapore Manufacturing Federation, Singapore Business Federation on promotion of Make in India in Singapore and ASEAN. Between CII and WaterRoam on rural water solutions in India, providing young Singapore startups opportunities in India. Between Federation of India Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Singapore Space Technology Association for commercial collaboration in the space sector and the development of the Singapore space industry. The Federation of India Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Food Industry Asia for cooperation in food processing, safety and capacity building. Economic Growth, Asian Competitiveness Institute, Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy for joint research on competitiveness assessments and public policy. The following MOUs will be signed at the Nanyang Technological University tomorrow on the 1st of June 2018. It includes between NITI Aayog and NTU for research and exchange partnership, a joint doctoral degree program between India Institute of Technology, Madras and NTU, joint doctoral degree program between India Institute of Technology, Mumbai and NTU, for research and academic collaborations between India Institute of Space Science and Technology and NTU. For research attachment of research students between India Institute of Science and NTU. Academic interface partnership program between Tata Consultancy Services, Singapore and NTU. And finally, the endowment gift agreement between Gopalakrishnan, Tata Trust and NTU. The Gopalakrishnan NTU Presidential Postdoctoral Fellowship. A big round of applause for all our memorandum of understanding, please. Ladies and gentlemen, may we please invite Mr. S. Ishwaran, Minister for Communications and Information and Minister in charge of Trade Relations, for his remarks. Minister Ishwaran, please.
Sir. No.
Your Excellency Shri Narendra Modi, Prime Minister of the Republic of India, to Jawad Ashraf, High Commissioner of India to Singapore, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all of you. Let me begin by extending a very warm welcome to Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi and his distinguished delegation to Singapore and to today's business event. During Prime Minister Modi's last visit to Singapore in November 2015, we celebrated India and Singapore's 50th anniversary of diplomatic and economic relations. We were also honored to have Prime Minister Modi share his economic vision for India, as well as his aspirations for India and Singapore to pursue initiatives in trade and investment, smart city development, urban rejuvenation, and connectivity. Today, I'm pleased that India-Singapore economic relationship has continued to deepen, particularly in the areas that were identified by Prime Minister Modi in 2015. In 2017, our bilateral billion Sing dollars. Singapore's investments in India have also grown exponentially in the past decade and risen in recent years from $22.7 billion in 2014 to $36.3 billion in 2016. Singapore continues to partner and collaborate with India in sectors of mutual benefit. In connection with India's Smart Cities and Urban Rejuvenation Initiative, something which I know is very close to Prime Minister Modi's heart, I'm happy to share that the Maharashtra-Singapore Joint Committee was launched earlier this month. This is the second government-to-government project we have undertaken in India, which will see the development of a master plan to support the growth of the Pune metropolitan region, as well as downstream urban infrastructure projects. This collaboration complements what Singapore is already doing in Andhra Pradesh to develop the startup area of its new capital city, Amaravati. Singapore is also actively supporting Prime Minister Modi's Make in India campaign to boost India's manufacturing sector. Singapore companies like Tong Garden and Food Empire have made sizable investments to set up processing plants in states like Andhra Pradesh and Gujarat. Singapore companies also support the Make in India effort by providing efficient and reliable logistics capabilities. PSA's container terminal at Mumbai's Jawaharlal Nehru Port was officially launched by Prime Minister Modi in February this year. When phase 2 of the $1.2 billion terminal is completed at the end of 2022, it will have an annual container handling capacity of 4.8 million TEUs. Companies like YCH Group and Ascender Singbridge are also planning to do more in India's logistics and warehousing sector. These heightened economic activities have further enhanced people-to-people connectivity between India and Singapore. One indicator is that India and Singapore's air connectivity, with around 528 weekly flights between India's major metros and tier 2 cities in Singapore, is operating at close to maximum capacity by most accounts. India and Singapore are also making efforts to improve our overall people-to-people ties. For example, an MOU was signed in April last year between Enterprise Singapore, the Confederation of Indian Industries, and 3 Singapore Institutes of Higher Learning to encourage young Singaporeans to take on work internships in India. We want young Singaporeans to be India ready so that they can further strengthen our growing bilateral economic links. While we celebrate our progress, it is equally important that we don't forget the deep historical ties between India and Singapore, and in particular the contributions of early Indian traders and entrepreneurs in Singapore in the 1800s. Not only have they contributed significantly to the economic growth and development of modern Singapore, they have also enriched our multicultural society. Singapore's Indian community is a key node in the global Indian diaspora, and its many facets and achievements are today remembered and celebrated at the Indian Heritage Centre in Singapore, which I believe, Mr. Prime Minister, you'll be visiting on Saturday morning. Many Indian Singaporeans still retain strong ties to their ancestral homeland, which also contributes to the growing economic, political, and cultural linkages between India and Singapore. We also want to look ahead and build on these synergies and strengths. For example, in line with the theme of today's business event, there is significant potential for greater collaboration in the area of startups and innovation. India's startup scene has boomed in the past decade, and it is now the 3rd largest startup ecosystem globally. India is expected startups by the end of this decade, although I suspect that number will be far exceeded well before that deadline. And this tremendous growth presents opportunities for collaborations and partnerships between Indian and Singaporean startups. Earlier this evening, I had the pleasure of touring the Innovation Exhibition with Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong. The adoption of frontier technologies such as artificial intelligence, data analytics, as well as innovation for social impact is a testament to the sheer scope for collaboration between India and Singapore in this exciting space of startups. During his last visit, Prime Minister Modi said that, and I quote, "Singapore is an exciting incubator and India is a vast laboratory," unquote. And in that spirit, I'm happy to share that we have been working closely to develop a Singapore-India Innovation Network, which aims to establish a series of innovation corridors between the vibrant technology ecosystem in Singapore and the key innovation nodes in India. As part of this effort, Enterprise Singapore, in partnership with many players, will soon launch the Singapore-India Incubation Program to help Singapore startups access the India market with greater ease and catalyze collaborations between the respective ecosystems for the joint creation and development of innovative solutions. Similarly, the program will facilitate Indian startups' entry into Singapore's ecosystem and also through Singapore to access the broader ASEAN market. In the area of digital connectivity, India has made considerable advances through the implementation of Aadhaar, digital identification system, under Prime Minister Modi's Digital India initiative. Singapore companies continue to contribute to India's digitalization in niche areas like e-payment security, smart city management, and electronic commerce. One way to support this growth of digitalization is to enhance integration between India and Singapore's e-payment system. I'm therefore glad that National Payments Corporation of India, NPCI, and the Singapore's Network for Electronic Transfers, NETS, are collaborating to facilitate cross-border payments and cross-border payment solutions in both countries, starting with the acceptance of RuPay cards by NETS. This means that Indian nationals and tourists in Singapore will be able to use their domestic RuPay cards to make electronic payments at NETS merchants across Singapore. Against this backdrop of closer economic partnership and new areas of synergy, the prospects for our future collaboration are bright. And in this respect, Mr. Prime Minister, we are looking forward to hearing from you on your vision and plans for India's growth trajectory and the opportunities which our two countries can jointly pursue for mutual benefit. It therefore gives me great pleasure and honor to welcome Prime Minister Modi once again to Singapore and to invite him on stage to deliver his address. Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, the moment has arrived. Please put your hands together to welcome Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, for his welcome remarks.
Namaste, Singapore. Good evening. Ni hao. Salamat datang. Vanakkam. Minister Ishwaran, business leaders, my Singaporean friends, members of Indian diaspora in Singapore, Namaskar to all of you. Today, here in this wonderful setting, we see the power of the relationship between India and Singapore. It is our heritage, our people, and a great partnership of our times. It is the grace and majesty and the roar of the two lands. It is always a pleasure to return to Singapore. It is a city that never fails to inspire. Singapore may be a small island, but the horizons are global. This great nation has shown us that size is no barrier to the scale of achievements or the strength of a nation's voice in the world. But Singapore's success also lies in the harmony of its multicultural society, in the celebration of its diversity, which underlies a distinct and unique Singaporean identity. And in this wonderful mosaic, there is an ancient thread, beautiful and colorful, that binds India and Singapore. Friends, the course of India's centuries-old route to Southeast Asia also ran through Singapore. The human link is deep and enduring. It lives in the Singaporean Indians. And this evening has been lit up with your presence, your energy, your talent, and your achievements. Whether you are here through the chance of history or the opportunities of the globalization, whether your ancestors came here generations ago or you came here in this century, each of you has become part of Singapore's unique fabric and its progress. In turn, Singapore has embraced you, your merit and your hard work. Here in Singapore, you represent the diversity of India. If you want to see all festivals of India in one city or celebrate them for weeks, Singapore is a place to visit. That might also be true now for Indian food. I still remember the dinner Prime Minister Lee hosted for me in Little India last time. Tamil is an official language here. But it is a testimony to Singapore's spirit that school children can also learn 5 other Indian languages. The city throbs with the finest of Indian culture. This is as much due to the talented Indian community as the support from Singapore government. Here in Singapore, we have even started a full competition in traditional Indian games. It brings you memories of your youth and enables children to connect to Kho-Kho and Kabaddi. And in 2017, International Day of Yoga was held at 70 centers in the city. That makes it one center for every 10 square kilometers. No other city in the world could have this yogic intensity. Institutions like Ramakrishna Mission and Shri Narendra Mission have been here for decades. In their service to society, without distinction between people, reflect the values that bind India and Singapore. In their journey through Singapore, as the region, the greatest of Indian thinkers, Swami Vivekananda and poet Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, found a common core that connects India to the East. Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose called a march for India's freedom from the soil of the Singapore, Delhi Chalo. It is an enduring flame in the heart of every Indian. And in 1948, a portion of Mahatma Gandhi's ashes were immersed at Clifford Pier, just across the bay from here. Thousands from all sections of society witnessed the ceremony. A plane showered rose petals and the ashes were immersed. People took sip of water from the sea. Day after tomorrow, I will have the honor to unveil a plaque at Clifford Pier to mark that solemn moment of our history. The moment which underlines even today the timeless and universal values of Mahatma Gandhi. Friends, on the foundation of this extraordinary heritage, the wealth of our human links and the strength of our shared values, India and Singapore are building a partnership of our age. It is a relationship that truly meets the test of strategic partnership. When India opened up the world and turned to the east, Singapore became a partner and a bridge between India and ASEAN. Political relations between India and Singapore are among the warmest and closest. There are no contents or claims or doubts. It is a natural partnership from a shared vision. Our defense relations are among the strongest for both. My armed forces speak with great respect and admiration for Singaporeans' armed forces. India's longest continuous naval exercise is with Singapore. They are making their silver jubilee now. We are proud to host Singapore's Army and Air Force for training in India. Our ships regularly visit each other. Many of you have been on board our naval ships. I too am looking forward to visiting a Singapore Navy ship and an Indian naval ship at the Changi Naval Base day after tomorrow. In international forums, we speak in one voice in the cause of a rule-based order. Sovereign equality of all nations and free and open pathways of commerce and engagement. Economics is the heartbeat of the relationship. It is a partnership at the front line of India's global engagement. Singapore is both a leading investment source and destination for India. Singapore was the first country with which we signed a comprehensive economic cooperation agreement. Nearly 250 flights in each direction every week connect Singapore to 16 Indian cities, and that is set to grow. India is the third largest source of tourists in Singapore and its fastest growing. Our IT companies are helping Singapore stay smart and competitive. In many areas of India's development priorities, Singapore is a key partner. Smart cities, urban solution, financial sector, skills development, ports, logistics, aviation, and industrial parks. So, India and Singapore are contributing to each other's prosperity. And now we are building new partnerships for the digital world. Prime Minister Lee and I just made a tour of an outstanding exhibition of technology, innovation, and enterprise. These are the bright youth of India and Singapore. Many of them are brilliant talent from India that have made Singapore home. They will be the bridge of innovation and enterprise between India, Singapore, and ASEAN. A short while ago, we saw the international launch of RuPay, Beam and UPI. It is natural for this to be launched in Singapore. Together, we will work for using the power of mobile and digital technology for governance and inclusion. Together, we can build a great economic partnership of the new age. As Singapore sets a new future for itself, India emerges as the new global frontier of opportunity. Even in a year of deep structural reforms, like the introduction of goods and services tax, we remain the fastest growing major economy of the world. And we intend to stay that way. Our economy has become more stable. Fiscal deficit is down. Inflation rate is down. Current account deficit is comfortable. The currency is stable. And the foreign exchange reserves are at a record high. In India, the present is changing rapidly. A new India is taking place, and there are many reasons for it. One, economic reforms are taking place at a speed and a scale not known so far. Over 10,000 measures by central and state governments in the last 2 years have helped us move up to 42 places in the ease of doing businesses. Over 1,400 outdated laws have been repealed. India is among the most open economies in the world. Foreign investors can go into almost all sectors, often with up to 100% equity. Indeed, more than 90% of investment in India are through this route. Two, tax regime has changed. Lower tax rates, increased stability, faster resolution of tax disputes, and electronic filing systems. Goods and services tax is the biggest tax reform since independence. It has unified the nation into a single market and increased the tax base. This was not an easy task, but it was done successfully. And it has created new economic opportunities. Our personal income tax base has also expanded by nearly 20 million. Three, our infrastructure sector is expanding at record speed. Last year, we built nearly 10,000 kilometers of national highways. That is 27 kilometers daily, almost double the speed a few years ago. Pace of rail track addition has doubled. Metro rails in several cities. 7 high-speed rail projects, dedicated freight corridors, and modernization of 400 railway stations will transform the rail sector. Other projects include 10 greenfield airports, 5 new major ports, 111 rivers designated as national waterways, and over 30 logistic parks. We added over 80,000 megawatts of power in just 3 years. And in renewable energy, we have become the 6th largest producer in the world. That is our commitment to a green and sustainable future. Quite simply, the biggest infrastructure story of the world is unfolding in India. Our manufacturing sector is rebounding. There has been a sharp rise in FDI in the past 3 years, from 36 billion US dollars in 2013-14 to 60 billion US dollars in 2016-17. There is also special focus on the micro, small and medium enterprise sector. We have launched sector-specific modernization and productivity programs, reduced corporate tax rate, and made tax benefit more attractive and easier. The Indian startup sector is flourishing and is now the 3rd largest in the world. My favorite scheme is, of course, the Mudra scheme that offers microcredit to the poor, the middle class people, and to the excluded. Over the past 3 years, 128 billion loans worth more than 90 billion US dollars have been extended. 74% of these have gone to women. Yes, 74% to women. 5, we are strongly focused on financial inclusion. In the course of the past 3 years, we have opened 316 million bank accounts for those who never had a bank account. Now, 99% of Indian households have a bank account. It is a new source of dignity and identity for every citizen, a remarkable story of inclusion and empowerment. More than 10 billion US dollars have been deposited in these accounts. Government benefits worth more than 50 billion US dollars have been transferred directly within the reach of the poorest. For example, digital transactions are growing rapidly. In 2017, just the UPI-based transaction grew 7,000%. 7,000% growth. In January, all digital transactions were valued at 2 trillion US dollars. We are building broadband connectivity to 250,000 village councils, and we are setting up common service centers in each of these village councils. This will offer many digital services and create thousands of new rural jobs. Under Atal Innovation Mission, we are opening 100 incubation centers, and we have opened 2,400 tinkering labs across India for our children to become innovators and job creators. One of the exhibitors today is from one of these labs. 7, India will experience the largest wave of urbanization in the world over the next 2 decades. It is a challenge, but also a huge responsibility and opportunity. We are working to transform 100 cities into smart cities and 115 aspirational districts into new center of progress. Mass transit, waste management, pollution control, sustainable habitat, and affordable housing are programs of great priority for us. 8, we are investing in skills and raising the standards of higher education to give a life of a dignity and opportunity for our 800 million youth. With learning from Singapore, we are setting up Advanced Institute of Skill Development. And in this fiscal year, we have launched a $15 billion US program to further strengthen our higher education system. 9, agriculture sector is receiving a level of priority that it has not since the Green Revolution decades ago. We aim to double the income of farmers by 2022, when independent India will be 75 and new India will be born. For this, we are using technology, remote sensing, internet, digital financial system, soft credit, insurance, soil health improvement, irrigation, pricing, and connectivity. The 10, we want every citizen to enjoy what I call ease of living by 2022. It means, for example, 50 million new houses so that there is a roof over every head in 2022. Last month, we reached a milestone. Each one of our 600,000 villages are now connected to a power grid. We are also working to provide electric connection to every household. We have launched this year Ayushman Bharat, the National Health Insurance Scheme. It will cover 100 million families or 500 million Indians with annual coverage of $8,000. This is simply the largest healthcare scheme in the world. Quality of life is also linked to clean and sustainable development. That is one of our principal goals. It is rooted in our heritage and our commitment to the planet's future. And it informs every aspect of public policy and economic choices in India now. It includes our mission of Clean India, clean rivers, clean air, and clean cities. And all these changes are taking place because of one and only one reason: our people. A nation of 1.25 billion people with 65% under the age of 35 years is on the move, eager for change and confident about achieving a new India that is also driving change in governance and politics. Friends, there is complete clarity and confidence about the pace and direction of economic reforms in India. We will make it easier and smoother to do businesses in India. We will work for an open, stable, and fair international trade regime. And our engagement to our east will be among the strongest, and economics will remain an integral part of our Act East policy. We want to see a comprehensive, fair balance agreement that lifts up all nations on the tide of trade and investment. We have just completed the review of India-Singapore Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreement, and we will work to further upgrade it. We will work with most of all with ASEAN to reach an early conclusion to regional comprehensive economic partnership. As India's engagement with the region grows, will remain gateway to ASEAN and the broader East. This year, Singapore's chairmanship of ASEAN will take India's relations with ASEAN further and further ahead. Friends, in conclusion, for Singapore, there is no better opportunity than India. Few countries have so much in common and so much in potential as India and Singapore. We mirror each other in our societies and we wish the same future for our region. We pursue a world based on rule of law and connected by open seas and a stable trade regime. Above all, we have the world's most talented, dynamic, professional and committed Indian diaspora. Proud to be Singaporeans, proud of their Indian heritage, ready to be the bridge between India and Singapore. The future is a world of unlimited opportunities. It belongs to us. It is up to us to be ambitious and bold to seize it. This evening tells us that we are on the right path. The two lions shall step into the future together. Thank you very much, friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Let's give him another big round of applause, please. The Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, will now take his leave. Ladies and gentlemen, may we please invite you to kindly remain seated. On the same vein, may we please invite CEOs participants